It's another great day at Crypto Cove. Well, folks, we're back to our matinee time slots, so hopefully this should work out pretty well. We're at 22 participants, so that's pretty good for these types of meetings. And for today's topic, what we're going to cover is going over some of the different ways that you can use cryptocurrency as currency, because at the end of the day, that's what crypto is all about, using it as money. And some of you may have noticed that I've said this a couple times in the last couple co-founders meetings, but cryptocurrency is not the thing that you swap or sell to get money. Crypto is the money. And I'm going to prove that on this call, actually. And I'll be making a purchase with crypto right near the end of this call to show you all how it's done with one service. All right, I'll go ahead and start my screen share. All right, and you all can see my screen, right?
Yes.
All right, Ethan. Now, first off, to get this out of the way, yes, you can sell your crypto on a couple different exchanges, like, for example, on Binance or crypto.com. But we're not talking about that today. We're not talking about selling your crypto for fiat. No, 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 no. We're talking about using your crypto instead of using your fiat. And the first way that's probably going to be the gateway for a lot of people that are on this call and are listening to my voice right now is to use a crypto backed debit card to finance all your regular purchases, your regular everyday purchases with crypto. And crypto.com actually, in general, has the card that I totally recommend to newbies looking at crypto backed debit cards. So, in the case of a crypto.com crypto backed debit card, where it's a debit card that you load your crypto onto, and when you go to make a purchase, it will go ahead and sell that crypto for fiat, whichever fiat your country accepts, and of course, assuming that they support your country. And as far as whether merchants you're working with is concerned, they don't know that anything has happened. The sushi shop that you use this card with is going to get their currency. The sushi shop back in the US, for example, is going to get the US dollar. So they're not going to know that anything special has happened. To them, it just looks like a regular debit card purchase, not anything special at all. This is in the way. All right, so there are several different variants of the crypto.com card. Each of them come with their own separate sets of pros and cons. So this is definitely something where it definitely pays to take a look to see which one is right for you, and also to see which crypto-backed debit card is right for you, because there are actually several different crypto-backed debit cards. So the crypto.com card might not be right for your particular circumstances or what you particularly want to do. So this is definitely one of those things where you want to do some research. Yep, do your own research and then go from there to find which one is best for your particular circumstances. All right, so are there any questions on that before we move on to the next way you can use your crypto? All right, we'll move on. Next up, we have NanoGPT. Now, this is a website that aggregates different AI models, like, for example, OpenAI's O3 Deep Research Model, as well as many different other AI models, including premium ones that allow you to access these models on a pay-as-you-go basis. So, for example, if you want to access OpenAI's O3 Deep Research model, then you have to pay for their $200 a month Pro subscription. Now, with Nano GPT, you can cut that down to, say, just a couple dollars if you only need it for a couple things, a couple different questions. Now, $200 versus, say, $3 or $4. That sounds like a pretty good deal, wouldn't you say, Karen?
Most definitely.
Yep. Right, so what you can do is in Nano GPT, and I'm going to have links to all these down the video description after I upload this to YouTube. But what you can do is you can go to the balance section and whoops. From here, you can click on add balance and you can select the amount that you want to add. We'll say $10 worth. Then we'll click next and select the payment method that you want to use. Now, here we see that Nano GPT offers 3 different types of options. We have one being to pay with your debit or credit card or your Apple or Google Pay. We also have Nano, which is a special type of digital currency and cryptocurrency. And then we have the general section for cryptocurrencies. So we'll go ahead and click on digital currencies. And here we see that they accept several different kinds of cryptocurrencies. Like, for example, we see Monero, Litecoin, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Solana, Binance Coin, and several different kinds of Tether, including USDT B20, which is big ones. Well, I made one chicken, folks. A lot of stuff happens when you're live, don't you know? All right. So, as I was saying, one of the different types of USDT that they accept is USDT BP20, which is the tether that we use over in pool funding and in pool micro lending when we pay our access fees for the lending part of the equation. There are also several different other types of crypto here. So chances are the one you're thinking of using is supported by them. And for example, I'm going to go back to conversations. And I'm just going to demonstrate this quickly and show off what one of the models looks like when you ask the question. So we're going to go with GPT-5, and typically it will show you a quote as to how much one query to it will cost you. Like, for example, we can see the cost section. It shows 0.024 to 0.14. And this section also allows you to filter models based off of their capabilities, which are a category you want them to be under. And you can also sort them based off of some other aspects, such as the date that the model was added, models that are there for coding, and of course, price. So if we go by price, we can see that Claude 4.1 Opus is actually one of the more expensive ones, but we can go ahead and scroll down through this list. And we can see, for example, DeepSeek V3.1 is 0.000 to 0.0006 cents. So pretty nice disparity there, and chances are your question or what you need the AI for is going to be answered by at least one of these models. So let's go ahead and say use GPT-5. And I really should have thought of this before we went live. Can someone think of a question for me to ask it?
Why is there air?
All right,
I'm going
we'll
back
see
to
what it comes. We'll see
a
what it comes
long
back
time
with.
ago.
Hey, that's not laziness. That's audience participation. All right, now GPT-5 is going to go ahead and think about the answer and reason it out. And most of the time, it will actually show you the thought process that the AI goes over. Right, and here we go. A comedian once answered, so he can blow up basketballs. The real answer, Earth has air because its mass, temperature, magnetic field, geology, and life together created and keep a stable atmosphere. So there you go.
And
Yeah,
it
and
was the
some,
comedian I was thinking of.
yeah. And sometimes the output is going to be better than this. Sometimes it's going to be worse. But one thing that's also worthy of note is that our usage of this was also completely private. Now, OpenAI may keep this chat log, but they won't know who posed that question to the AI. So they won't know that I did, as opposed to if I posted it in, say, the free account that I have with ChatGPT, in which OpenAI would know that, yes, I was the one who asked that question. All right. So are there any questions about that before we move on? All right, moving on then. Now, I don't have a lot to showcase here, but one of the bigger stores online that accepts Bitcoin is Newegg. Newegg is, for those of you unfamiliar, a store typically in the United States as well as Canada that allows you to purchase several different types of electronics and even at times specialty electronics online and have them shipped to your door. Pretty convenient, and yeah, pretty convenient that they're using Bitcoin now as an option. I've used this in the past to buy a new laptop with some Bitcoin, as well as a couple different specialty electronics like a Raspberry Pi 3. Not a lot to say about that, but it works and it works well. All right, moving on. We also have Silent Link Instant eSIM. Now, for those of you that are on here that are whales, or anyone else who's listening who is a whale, you might want to tuck this one in the back of your mind for later, because when the whales start to go on tour, this may very well be useful for you to, excuse me, for you to get phone service anywhere in the world, or at least data. And typically, in some cases, this can be far cheaper than buying the tourist trap SIM card plans that you see at the airports. So this will definitely save some people money, particularly the whales, if it gets to that point. All right, and moving on, this is another service that I've used before, JM Bullion. Now, this is an online store that is actually a precious metals dealership. So you can purchase gold, silver, platinum, copper, etc. and diversify your portfolio if you want to add precious metals. And you can see that they accept several different types of crypto. And you can pause the video if you want to read through all that. But I'm just going to go over to, say, the 1 ounce American Silver Eagle. Oops. And we can see that we see a quote for prices if you pay with crypto. Now, JM Bullion offers a 3% discount if you pay with crypto versus if you pay with a debit or credit card or PayPal. And the reason for that being that crypto transactions are irreversible, and there's also no one to charge JM Bullion a fee for accepting crypto. So that's cheap on their end, so they can pass some of those savings on to you, the buyer. All right, are there any questions on that before we move on? No? Okay, so when you're looking at these different services that accept crypto, you do want to be very careful to take a look at which particular cryptocurrencies they accept, because you might have to swap some of your crypto over to a different type of crypto before you can use it on their website. And if that's the case, you'll probably want to use a swap service like BitSploat or SimpleSwap. It all depends on where you are in the world and what the service you're planning on using accepts. And we've been over several different types of exchanges and swap services on this channel before, so I won't really go into that. But with that in mind, we'll go ahead and move on to the last service that I have on tap today, and that is Bitrefill. Now, I've used this service several times in the past, and what this service allows you to do is it allows you to make several different types of gift card purchases with your crypto. So, like for example, if we go over just straight to the gift card section, you can see that we see gift cards for Lowe's, DoorDash, Uber, Airbnb, and there's quite a long list. You get the idea. Chances are that if the service or platform you're looking at has a gift card program, chances are that Bitrefill has a gift card for it. But one other thing that's also pretty nice about this type of service is it also allows you to refill your cell phone account. Like, for example, here in Panama, if I want to add money to my cell phone account since I use Moss Mobile, typically since I'm an expat, that means I have to go down to a store that accepts using Moss Mobile and pay them to add money to my account. Now, I might be going to the store anyway, but if I'm not, then that sounds pretty inconvenient, wouldn't you say, Karen?
Yes, I would, Hunter. Darn inconvenient.
Yeah. All right. So that's where this sword service comes in. We can go over to phone refills, and you can select the country that you're using and then type in your cell phone number, and it will then give you the several different options they have for your area. Like, for example, right now it's set on the US, but in this case, I'm going to go back to the main page, and I'm going to go straight over to the Moss Mobile cable and wireless option because that's what I use here in Panama. And you'll notice that taxes are unfortunately included in purchases like this. That this unfortunately is not a way for you to avoid sales tax or anything of the sort, unfortunately. but this is set to Panama, so I'm going to go ahead and enter in 30. And the PAB that you see is the Panamanian Balboa. Now, this is tied to the value of the US dollar, so it's going to have me pay in USDT, even though this says PAB, not USDT or USD. But there are also several different other types of crypto that BitRefill accepts: Bitcoin, Ethereum, USDC, that's USD coin, USDT, that's the Tether, including Tether on the Binance Smart Chain, Solana, Base, Polygon, etc. All right, now I'm going to go ahead and source my phone number from WhatsApp, and then I'll go ahead and type that in. And I'm probably going to have to blur the section out once I go ahead and upload it, but should be relatively easy. And now I'm going to go ahead and click Add to Cart. And then I'll go ahead and click Checkout. And before I go ahead and make the purchase, I also want to show you guys something else. I actually did a screenshot of my cell phone account a while before this call. And I trust you all can see that there's pretty much nothing left in the account there. Well, 1 cent basically. So yeah, I needed to top up, which is part of the reason I'm having this call. I figured, hey, I might as well do it on camera to prove a point. All right, so with that out of the way, this is in the way. So with that out of the way, we can go ahead and select the payment method. Now, since I've used BitRefill before, and I've used the USDT on the Binance Smart Chain before, what I'm going to do is I'm going to select that USDT. And one thing you'll have to do if you're new to the service is you'll have to connect your wallet if you're wanting to use the USDT or other currencies that you have in your MetaMask wallet. So we'll go ahead and click on the white Connect Wallet button, and we'll select MetaMask. And we'll confirm the connection with bitrefill.com. All right, and again, we have USDT on the Binance Smart Chain selected. The total is 32.28. And are there any questions before I hit the continue button?
Yes, if you hadn't already selected your USDT, how would you select your payment method? Down where it says show all payment methods at the bottom?
Yep, from here you
Okay.
can select several different types of crypto that you can use as your payment method. Bitcoin, Ethereum, USD coin, Sol, Litecoin, Dash, Doge, etc.
And then the next
So,
time you went in, it would default to your previous payment method?
right.
Okay, thank you.
So plenty to choose from here, and you'll see that they accept stable coins on several different chains. So with that, we'll go ahead and click continue. And now we get the option to either pay manually if I want to copy the wallet address here give me and paste it into MetaMask manually, or we can click the Pay with MetaMask button to have it automatically suggest a transaction for the amount and to the correct wallet address. So we'll go ahead and click that. And we see that there's a transaction request here for 32.28. I'm going to go ahead and confirm that. All right, transaction is complete on MetaMask side. We're just waiting on Bitrefill to see it. And then after that, it will go ahead and send the money over to my phone account. Usually it takes just a minute or so with the faster chains like the BNB chain or the Polygon chain. All right, order complete. Now I'm going to go ahead and open my phone app and I'll go ahead and refresh this. All right, and I'll go ahead and put this over in my Telegram chat in my saved messages. All right, now I'm going to go over to Telegram and I'll go over to my saved messages and I can just blur this out later. Now, you'll notice that it only created my account with 15. Sometimes that occurs, and it'll add the extra 15 in a little while. But for all intents and purposes, my phone plan is topped up, and I can go ahead and purchase an additional month's of service if I want. So, yeah, that's pretty useful insofar as that goes. And yeah, this was pretty simple. It gets to be pretty simple once you get down to it and after you've done it a couple times. All right, so that was pretty much all I wanted to show you guys today. Is there any question about that or anything else we are talking about here before we close out today?
So with Bitrefill, the gift cards that you purchase will be on your phone. Is that correct?
So when you purchase a gift card through Bitrefill, you'll get a virtual gift card code that you can use on the service that you want to use it with. Like, for example, I did with Papa John's back before we left the US during the last Bitcoin Pizza Day we had there. And what happened was I got a code to enter into their websites that served as a gift card.
Okay, thank
But
you.
they do also offer virtual debit cards, prepaid debit cards from Visa, MasterCard, etc., that function just like the Visa prepaid cards that you sometimes get as generic gift cards.
Okay, so you could essentially load that then with USDT or crypto of your choice and then use that as a debit card
That's right.
or credit card. Okay. Oh, okay.
In the case of Bitrefill, those will be prepaid and usually not reloadable. If you're wanting something that's reloadable, chances are you might actually want one of the crypto-backed debit cards, like the crypto.com card.
Okay. What about the MetaMask card? Do you know anything about that yet?
So I know a little bit about that, but from what I've seen of it so far, it really doesn't look that great. It's mainly limited to a couple chains that are less popular. So I typically don't recommend it. But that's not to say that it couldn't become better in the future, and I'm absolutely hoping that it does.
So at this point, is it not on the Binance chain or do you know that?
It's not the Binance chain. I
Okay.
believe the main one that they use right now is the Lena chain, which is a layer 2 chain built off of the Ethereum network.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions? No? All right. We'll go ahead and close out here. Thank you all for coming to another thrilling episode of Crypto Cove. All
Thank
right.
you,
I'll go.
Hunter.
I'll go ahead and stop the recording.